Hi, Coach Jeff here, and tonight we're going to talk about center backs breaking the opponent's line. But let's start with the 5 W's. What? Possession to pass or dribble forward in order to create chances in the attacking third. Now I know that may already seem a little unusual. I'm talking about the attacking third, but I'm talking about center back. And that'll make more sense a little later. Where? We're attacking in the defensive third. So we're going to start the attack in the defensive third. We're going to transition through the middle third, and then we're going to create those chances in the attacking third. Who are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about the 4-5, 7-9, and 10-11. When, with center backs breaking the opponent's line? When we're defending near our goal, one of our center backs gains possession, and there is a clear channel through the middle or attacking third of the field. And why? We're trying to pass or dribble forward when possible. Okay, so what are lines? I have to start with lines before I talk about breaking lines and before I talk about center backs breaking lines. First, there are 3 basic lines in soccer. There's a defensive line, a midfield line, and a forward line. And so what you can see on this chart is we are the blue diamonds, and I put opponent in here in the red circles. So I put us in our typical 4-1-3-2, and I put the opponent in a 4-3-3. Now let's look at the opponent first. So with the opponent, you can see they have a defensive line, a midfield line, and a forward line. So otherwise, to break them down, you have to penetrate line 1, line 2, line 3, and then I kind of put in a line 4 for the goalkeeper. Now, how many lines do you have to break down to score on us? Well, I put this in green. We have a forward line, we have a midfield line, we have a defensive midfield line, and then we have a defensive line, and then our goalkeeper. So excluding the goalkeeper, you have to break through 4 lines to score on us, okay? So that kind of leads to another discussion about why sometimes you play defensive and sometimes you play more attacking. And there's a lot of data to support that. Matter of fact, in the last several Men's World Cups, the most successful formation against an inferior opponent is more of an attacking formation, like a 4-3-3. The most successful formation against a superior opponent is more defensive, maybe like a 4-1-3-2 or a 4-2-3-1 that you see a lot in professional soccer. Now, you may ask me, say, Coach Jeff, I don't understand why you have to break this line. Why can't you just simply dribble or pass through this channel between these 2 forwards? Well, think about this. If you're attempting to pass or dribble forward in a channel, in theory, one of these red players is going to rotate over to provide pressure, and then of course their teammates are going to cover and balance. So anywhere along this line that you try to penetrate, in theory, they're going to provide pressure. So that's why they call them lines. And now you see kind of what I'm talking about when it's talked about to break lines. You actually want to get beyond this line. That's called breaking the line. And I also want to kind of give you a real world example that we experienced recently. When we did the scrimmage or friendly with FC Sarasota, I know there were a lot of things that didn't go right for us. We started with 11 players. A couple players couldn't make it. We had 2 players that had to show late because they had school games. But on paper, we were the better team. We should have won that game. And again, I know a lot of things didn't go right, but we had a hard time breaking them down. And I don't know if you know, but they were playing in a 4-2-3-1. So basically, it's similar to our 4-1-3-2, except you would take 1 forward and move it back, and you'd have 2 6s operating here. So they were really, really tough to break down because not only did they have 1 6, but they had the 2 6s shifting back and forth, okay? Now let's transition to some different formations out there across the world. Okay, so I know this is a really busy chart, okay, but I'll explain it here. So I've got some possible opponents here lined up in a lot of different formations. And the first thing I want to concentrate on is the top 4 formations that I've got drawn here. So you can see a 4-4-2, a 4-3-3, a 3-4-3, and a 3-5-2. And you'll notice in each one of those, again, excluding the goalkeeper, there are basically 3 lines. There's a forward line, there's a midfield line, and there's a defensive line. Now, I want to look at the bottom 2 formations. This is a 4-1-3-2 that we typically play a lot, and this is a 4-2-3-1. Now you'll see the difference. There are actually 4 lines excluding the goalkeeper. So you can see the difference. And there's several other formation examples out there that we could point to, but now you see the difference. Now let's talk about our center backs breaking the opponent's line. Okay, so in the example here, first of all, we're the blue diamonds. You can see the opponent I've got in red. And I've got us in a 4-1-3-2, and I've got the opponent in a 4-3-3. Okay, so let's look at the opponent, the 4-3-3. Here's the 4 defenders, right? Here's the 3 midfielders, and then here's the 3 forwards. And you can see right now, we're defending this goal. And you can see that our opponent, let's say they have the ball right here. Okay, now, let's look at us in our 4-1-3-2. Here's our 4 defenders. Here's our defensive mid. Here are our 3 attacking midfielders. There's our 10, there's our 9. So since we're defending, we're very compressed, right? And we've talked about that. When we compress, it kind of looks like a 4-3. And I've even got the 8 back here helping out too. But you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's our defensive system of play. Now, again, we're defending, so we're very compact to be successful. Our opponent is very spread out. You know, they're trying to provide opportunities to move the ball around, maybe trying to get us to spread out, but that's what's going on right here. Now, if a red opponent makes a mistake with the ball, and let's say in this case, I've got the right center back of the 4 gaining possession, you can see this channel, right? And if the 4 quickly takes this space, you can see how they've broken through the forward line of the opponent, the midfield line of the opponent, and they're heading to go 1v1 with one of the other opponent's defenders. And you've seen this a couple times in games when one of our center backs quickly carries the ball up the field. Now, there's some things we need to think about here. If you're a center back particularly, number 1, kind of a cardinal rule in soccer, is you do not dribble out of the back under pressure. You know, if you're under pressure, it's probably better to make a pass to a teammate in space or clear the ball. And obviously, to clear the ball, you clear it high, deep, and wide, and don't always think you got to clear it upfield. If you don't have that opportunity, you can clear the ball out wide, and worst case, you can actually clear it across the goal line. Just be careful with that. Secondly, when you dribble in this channel, it's got to be quick. It's got to be quick. If you take too much time, they're going to close you down, and the opportunity is lost. Okay, so I would recommend that if this channel exists and you're the center back, I would take long, quick touches. Take a long touch, run on the ball. Take a long touch, run on the ball. Now, you're finally going to get to a point up here where you have to make a decision. And that's where I really see us having some opportunity based on what I've seen in the past. What I typically see is one of our center backs gets the ball, we dribble, we get to about 30 yards out, and then we hesitate. And so you have to balance 2 things there. The 2 things that you have to balance is, number 1, take the space to goal if it's there. If it's not, you have to have a plan, okay? And again, what I see us do is we get about 30 yards from goal, we're not really sure what to do, and then we hesitate. And typically when we hesitate, the opportunity is lost. So, but you have to balance those 2 things. You know, which gives us more opportunity? Taking the space and going to goal, or have a plan? And what I mean by having a plan, you know, is that pass there to the 9? You know, does the 10 get into the play? Do we take a shot? You know, do we get near the 18 and take a shot? So again, some decision making is required there. Now, why is this so effective? Number one, the opponent's forwards, they have to recover quickly, and you're making them do a lot of running. That's one reason that this is effective. Another reason that this is effective is the other team's midfielders have to make a big decision. They have to decide, am I going to pressure the ball? And if I do pressure the ball, the forward's probably going to make that pass up the field. Or if I'm one of the opponent's midfielders, do I try to mark someone like this 10? And if I mark someone like this 10, now that's just going to open the channel for the forward to continue to carry. That's another reason that this is successful. A third reason that it's successful, it really confuses the opponents. You don't know this, but as the game goes along, people kind of get used to where everybody's playing, and they expect midfielders and forwards to attack. They don't expect it from a center back. So a center back attacking usually confuses youth teams. Another thing too, and kind of along the same lines, let's say that this forward is carrying forward, and again, the other team's kind of confused. These center backs, sometimes they don't know what to do. They don't know, should I stay with the 9? Should I watch the 10s? Should I go pressure the ball? They have to make a lot of decisions, and you've heard me say this before. When the other team has to make a lot of decisions, they're more inclined to make a mistake. So let's review a few things. Number one, we talked about lines. What are lines? In the case of the red team, you've got a defensive line, you've got a midfield line, you've got a forward line. Now, we also talked about breaking the line. That means getting behind that line of players. So if this, the red opponent midfielder, this is their line. Once we've penetrated here, we've actually broken that line or gotten behind that line. And then some things to remember as a center back. Number one, don't dribble out of the back under pressure. Number two, if you need to, clear the ball. And if you're going to clear the ball high, deep, and wide, you don't always have to clear it upfield. That's more ideal, but if you need to clear it out wide or across the goal line, do that. Number three, if you're going to do this as a 4 or a 5, it has to be quick, okay? It has to be quick. And again, I would recommend really long touches. If that channel's there, maybe you make that touch into there and you run on it. So, you know, as these two opponents turn, it's going to take them longer to get there. And then number 5, we talked about this lastly. At some point, decision making is going to have to kick in. Do I take the space and go to goal? Do I make a pass? Do I get near the 18 and take a shot? But you have to make that decision quickly, and you have to commit to it. You can't get up there and like, I'm not really sure what I should do here. And that's what I've seen us do in the past a few times. If you want to go to goal, go to goal. If you want to rip a shot, rip a shot. If you want to make that pass and continue going forward to try to get in the play, that's fine too. So again, I hope you learned something tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.